Many of our youth and young adults do not know how to bounce back from life challenges, and parents, it's our responsibility to teach them how to do that. Welcome to Pursue Her podcast, where we explore real life issues through the lens of faith and personal growth. I'm elated that you are on for this episode. And today we are going to be talking about what I'm noticing amongst children, young adults, youth, and them not being able to bounce back from adversity. So, if this is your first time really listening to one of my episodes, I'm not only just an entrepreneur and a life coach, but I'm also an educator. I am what's called a safe coordinator, and I specifically work with our students who are in crisis, panic attacks, mental health challenges, suicidal ideations, and I provide resources for them as well as to their parents. So I'm in the middle school currently, but I've been through a lot of different age groups, and I'm seeing some trends that are going around with our youth and other young adults that I've built relationships with, and it is alarming. They these babies do not know how to bounce back from adversity. Some of them are really thinking that suicide is a way out. And for those who don't think that suicide is a way out, they just lack the strategies and the skill set to know what to do when stress comes. When things aren't working the way that they want them to work, they get just stuck. Okay. And then they create these maladaptive behaviors or unhealthy coping strategies. And then it just turns into a ripple effect. I know a lot of times when I speak to parents, and I'm calling and I'm talking to them about what's going on with their child, what they're saying. And what I'm noticing is there's a lot of adults who feel like, well, this is just life. They just got to learn to suck it up. Right. And our kids just don't know how to suck it up. I can't say that I've ever had a conversation with my parents that I can recall where they were specifically telling me how to bounce back when things don't go a certain way, but we just did it. I didn't have a lot of friends in my age, and I know that's not the same for everybody, who were having suicidal ideations or just completely stressed out, or let's just say they hit it very well. But a lot of our parents, our age groups, close to the 40 age group, um, we just had a different way of looking at life challenges. But our youth right now, our young adults, my oldest is 20, about to be 21, they just have a different way, a different approach. And we've got to teach our children how to be resilient. Okay. We don't need them to be confused. We can't just expect them just to know. We can't expect them just to say, oh, just bounce back. It'll be all right. That's life. Suck it up. That does not work with everybody. So then what do? Right? Wouldn't you rather have your child still come to you than going to their friends to figure out what to do? So what happens if your children do not learn resiliency? Okay. Children who fail to develop resilience often struggle in various areas of their lives. They may develop unhealthy coping mechanisms, which I already said, such as avoidance, withdrawal, addiction, and there's just some consequences that come with that. What we will see and what we can see is increased anxiety and stress. They don't have the right tools to manage. They may become overwhelmed with stress and anxiety, which turns into panic attacks, which can turn into a lot of other things, or just feeling helpless. They can't believe that they can overcome the challenges that come their way, and this could lead to chronic anxiety. And a lot of times, the most of the strategies, depending on when you can catch the anxiety within your child, it can at times turn into having to take medication to help with the chemical imbalances, or they're going to therapy, and then we just see the influx of people going to therapy, and then you're on a waiting list. There's just not a perfect way with this, but if we can try to be a little bit more proactive when we start seeing these signs in our children, or start talking to them specifically, direct conversations about things that can help. Another consequence that we're starting to see amongst children who don't know how to bounce back from adversity, or they lack resiliency, is they have a lack of confidence. When they don't experience setbacks and learn how to recover from them, they may develop a fragile sense of self worth. They equate failure with being bad, or they're incapable, or they're not good enough, or that something is wrong with them. Okay. A child who always succeeds without difficulty can struggle when they face a more complex challenge. We've seen that as well. Some kids do things well, and then when they hit an area, or say they try out for a sports team and they don't make it, or say, God forbid, they get like a B on the test, depending on the expectation of your child, They don't know how to recover. They don't know what to do. They take it like a personal blow. And as parents, we're like, yo, it's really okay. But to them, it's not okay. It's the end of the world. So we still have to validate those feelings within our children so that they do not lack confidence. Another problem or consequence that can happen when we aren't teaching our children resiliency is poor problem solving skills. If they're not taught or encouraged or put in situations where they have to use critical thinking skills and problem solving strategies, they're going to struggle with difficulties later in life. They're not going to have any idea how to bounce back. As parents, as much as we try to take away so many problems for our children, right? We're here, we're trying to fix it, we're trying to put things in place. There's going to come a day and time where we are not here. There's also come a day and time where they are going to face life challenges. And you want to be able to say that I at least taught them. I at least had the conversation with them. We know at times, for those who have young adults, you tell them stuff and they may not listen, but at least you could say, I know I planted the seed. I know my oldest son is in the Navy, and there's so many things that we would talk about and tell him about, and then just go in one ear, out the other. But as he's going through life and experiencing things, he's calling mom like, yeah, I remember you used to tell me this. I remember that. So they may not apply it right when we tell them to, but we still have to teach them and put them in situations for critical thinking, to use critical thinking. Some of our children, our youth, who do not have that resiliency, they tend to give up easily. Some of our youth and some of our children who do not have that resiliency, they tend to give up easily. There's no stamina. There's no stick to itiveness. Is that the word? Or somebody make up that word? But they don't have it. So they're just like, I'm just gonna quit. Quitting is not an option. But have you ever told your child that quitting is not an option? And why it's not an option? And what do you do when you want to quit? The whole purpose of this episode is that we need to have these conversations. If you went to your child right now and asked them, hey, what would you do if you lost this friendship? What would you do if you failed this test? What would you do if you went out to get this scholarship and try to get accepted to this college and it doesn't work? How would you respond? Those are conversations you need to ask them. Don't just assume, and dig and see if they have those strategies. But we'll get into what else you can do. Those who lack resiliency also can have difficulty in building healthy relationships. Resilient children know how to cope with conflicts and setbacks in relationships, but without this skill, they may struggle to communicate, they struggle to forgive, and they struggle to move past misunderstandings with others. I see this a lot with youth. Especially at school, especially at the middle school age, when things aren't going a certain way or they've lost a friendship, they don't understand that some friendships come with seasons. They don't understand that everybody's not, again, going to be your friend for forever. Or some children just don't even understand that you may have an argument with your friend, but it's okay. How do we work it out? Again, this is a strategy and a skill that has to be taught. Maybe nobody had to teach it to you directly and you just figured it out, and that is wonderful. If that is your case, but we have to equip our children. We see the things happening in our world right now. The news is just showing just horrible things that are happening to people. And some of it has nothing to do with their decision making. It's just life. Again, the fires. No, nobody just asked for that. That wasn't necessarily one particular person's fault. You know, and we just pray that our children and our family never had to experience that. But what do we do when we experience that? I tell my children a lot of the time when I'm talking to youth, I give them the analogy that when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. And we really go through, okay, but what's a lemon? They're like, oh, it's bitter, it's sour, it's nasty. I don't like it. I can't stand lemons. I said, but what do you do when you got some lemons and you add water and you add sugar and you add ice? They say, oh, you got lemonade. Now you got something good. And I tell them, I said, but that's life. There's going to be situations that it's like a lemon that are not favorable. You don't want it. You can't, you just think it's the worst thing ever. But when you add your coping strategies, right? Your water, your sugar, your ice, whatever you want in your lemonade, okay? You making an Arnold Palmer sweet tea, whatever the case it is. This is the same thing with life. And this is how we work things out. This is how we make things better. We were not created for life just to be completely perfect. There is no just perfect life. Everybody has problems, but it's how we respond and bounce back. Okay? So, here are some ways that you can cultivate resilience in your children. Here are some questions or some things because they're going to face challenges, some adversities, some stressors, could be academic pressure. social media influences, societal changes, family dynamics, parents getting divorced, blended families, people coming together. They have to learn how to be able to respond to these stressors. And I know you want to be able to equip your child with those necessary skill set to be able to do this effectively. Okay. All right. One of the first ways, I'm going to give you 5 ways that you can build this resiliency in your children. I'm all about practical strategies. Model resilient behavior. Children learn a great deal by observing their parents. If you model resilience in your life, whether it's staying calm under stress, bouncing back from failure, or showing how you cope with disappointment, they are more likely to adopt those strategies themselves. Now, the tricky thing is, a lot of parents, we don't really tell our children everything we go through. So they really do not know the full capacity of the challenges that we face. They really don't understand how resilient we are because we don't want them to see that struggle. Sometimes you got parents who would never cry in front of their kids because they're like, I'm not going to let my kids see. But when we do that and when we think we're protecting them and we're hiding them, now granted, they don't need to know everything. Okay. Some kids know way too much, about what's going on in their parents' lives. But when our children don't see anything, like when we're not open about anything to them, they think their life is perfect. We are inadvertently teaching them that there's no problem, that life is just okay. And we know good and well that's not the case. So I'm not saying that you need to pour everything out to them, but there may be times like, hey, if you lose a job or you're facing a challenging situation, say there's layoffs, can you have a little conversation with your child and say, hey, this is what just happened. I am a little stressed, but this is how we're going to bounce back. Just that little conversation will go a long way with your child. So they'll be watching you. They're going to be watching your behaviors. They might even ask you, hey, how are you doing? It's okay to open that dialogue. When you try to fake it, and a lot of times our kids know when something's going on, like we think we do a really good job faking it, like we hope so. But sometimes they know and they may not come and ask. So then they now build their own interpretation of the situation, which may be good or which may be bad. But as they build their own interpretations of situations, now they're developing these learned behaviors that you have no idea of what's going on. So I want you to practice modeling resilient behavior, being a little transparent and authentic with your children. Like, yo, this is a tough one. For those who may be experiencing divorce, talk to your kids. This is tough. This is hard, but this is how we're gonna get through. Don't have enough money. This is how we're gonna manage it. I'm going to get this job. They're going to see you hustle. They're going to see you do whatever you need to do to make it work. They need to see that and they will model that behavior. Another thing that you can do to help cultivate resilience in your children is encourage problem solving and critical thinking. This can be at any age, young, even when they're toddlers. I feel like once they understand the difference between no and yes and ask questions, that means we can start giving them their own little challenges at that age so it starts to embed in them. Rather than solving problems for your children, encourage them to think through solutions on their own. This helps them feel empowered and builds their confidence and their ability to handle challenges. So when they're faced with a problem, ask them questions like, what do you think we should do next? Or what's another way we could approach this? I tell my children all the time, they'll come in with a problem. And certain ones I say, hey, you're a problem solver. You're a problem solver. You're a problem solver. So what are you going to do? Well, I don't know. Well, you let me know. Give me some choices of what you want to do and we'll figure out what works. That could be something as simple if a kid's trying to reach and get a snack. Let's break this down. You got a toddler that's trying to get a snack and they can't reach it and they start having a temper tantrum. Instead of just, we're going to redirect that behavior and say, no, we use our words. What do you want? I want this. Okay, so how do we go about getting that? Oh, well, I can ask you to get it for me, or I can get the step ladder and the little small ladder and get it. That is a prime example of you're teaching your child in just a small act of how to be resilient, how to use your words, how to use your strategies. Crying doesn't solve problems. I tell my boys, like, because I don't want young boys who turn into men and not connected with their emotions. So if they do cry, it's okay to cry, but is the crying going to solve the problem? Once you've experienced that emotion and that feeling, feel it. But now what's next? That's the conversation I have with them. You are a problem solver. I probably made a song about it because I always make songs about everything because I'm just me. But teach that. How can you challenge your children? There's a situation with their friends going on. Ask them, hey, how can we handle this? They're not getting along with their siblings. What's the way we can do it? And I don't know is not an answer. Because you know they're gonna say, I don't know. No, I don't know is not an answer. I don't know. Well, then I don't know what you're gonna do because you're gonna sit here. Start encouraging that, and that is going to help build the skill set that's necessary and needed later in life of how to bounce back. Y'all see the world we live in. Our kids need to know how to bounce back in a healthy way. All right, another thing you can do is teach them to embrace failure as a learning opportunity. Resilience is often built through failure. If a child learns that failure isn't the end, but an opportunity to learn and grow, they will be more likely to try again after a setback. So avoid shielding them from failure or disappointment. You stop trying to stop everything, especially for our young adults, especially for our high school age students. My son, I have one who is 20 that's in the Navy, and I have a junior, and I have an eighth grader, and I got a fifth grader. But when my oldest one was in high school, his senior year, I kind of pulled back. I said, because I was fussing about everything. This kid is not listening. So you talking about over parenting, life 360. You're not about to do nothing. And I said, I have got to pull back just a little bit. I have to allow him to mess up. I have to allow him to make a mistake. And I never forget his junior year. I was talking to him. I said, you know what? I'm about to pull back on fussing at you so much. I said, that does not mean I agree with your decisions. I said, but I'd rather see what you would do in a situation while you're still home. So if you do make a mistake, you're still here. Does that make sense? There's still this cushion. There's still this extra protection that's there. And I allowed him to make some decisions. Some things that I did not back off on was like SAT, ACT prep. You know what I mean? Getting his stuff done with his Navy recruiter and things of that nature. I'm like, I'm not leaving that in your hands. But making good decisions about what time you coming home. If you got the car, if you're out with a friend, did you go to class? Did you skip class today? What are we doing here? At some point, we have to allow them and to create these teachable moments and stop trying to stop them from everything. Because what they begin to do is behavior modification. They just know how to act in front of you, but that's not who they really are. I wanted to know who my sons really are. And I would like to kind of know who you really are while you're still in my house so that I can see, for one, which way I need to pray. Two, what type of skills and strategies I need to teach you or which way the conversation needs to go. But I don't want you to be fake in front of me, but then you totally somebody else on the other side. So create opportunities for your children to mess up. And I'm not going to say that. Don't create it. Allow them. Give this space. Okay? And give them an opportunity and then work it through with them. It goes a long, long way. Another point, foster emotional regulation and self-awareness. Children who are able to identify and manage their emotions are more likely to handle stress in a healthy ways. Help your child recognize their feelings and teach them coping strategies like deep breathing, mindfulness, or taking breaks to calm down. Emotional regulation fosters resilience because it helps children stay calm and focused in difficult situations. Okay? This is going to allow them to respond to situations differently. My baby boy, he's my one that anger can try to take over him. And all his brothers say, oh, he crashing out, right? So we talk about, okay, what do you do when you feel angry? What happens in your body? I need him to be able to put it into words. Do you feel your heart beating fast? Do you feel something in your stomach? You get a headache? Are you sweating? And we identify that. Okay, so when you're starting to feel this happen, you playing basketball with your brother, and you starting to feel this anger come up. You're losing the game. It's not working the way you want to. What are some things that you can do? And we talk about, he said, well, I could walk away. Or he'll say, or I could punch him. Okay, you punch him, and then what's about to happen to you? Because now you know you're in trouble. We don't do you can't hit in this house at all. You can hit back on the arm or leg. That's our own little rules. But you're never going to attack your brother, your family. That's never an option. But we talk it through. And then when he has his moments where he doesn't regulate the emotions, yep, we have to come back to the table and say, so as a result of you responding this way, now what? Well, now I'm on punishment. Now my phone's taken away. Okay, but what could you have done differently? That's still a learning moment. I need you to be able to regulate your emotions and know how to respond. Because when you're in the real world, you get angry and you pop off on somebody out there, there's no telling how they're going to respond. There's no telling what they're going to do to you because they don't care about you like how your family cares about you. We have to teach our children this. And these opportunities come up all the time. A lot of people just say, like when they're in teenager age and they yelling and they slamming doors, that is unacceptable behavior. I don't know why people think, well, this is just teenage stuff. This is what they do. That's the devil is a lie. That is not what you're just about to do. You're gonna learn how to talk. You're gonna learn how to say, I'm not in a good mood right now. Can I have a couple of minutes to myself? May I be excused from the table? Mom, can I talk to you later? You have to teach it. Don't enable these outbursts. And then they become young adults. They got a professor, they're in a classroom, they got a roommate, and they have no idea what to do because they just think, well, I can just act this way when I want to act this way. Parents, we have to teach this. We got to stop and teach it to them. Okay. And through all of this, my last tip: provide a supportive and safe environment. Children need a foundation of love, support, and encouragement to be resilient. Create a safe space where they feel secure enough to express their fears, failures, and their struggles. Let them know that no matter what happens, they are loved and capable of overcoming their challenges. A strong, supportive relationship with their family helps them develop the inner strength to face adversity. When home is a safe space where they know, like, if I make a mistake, it's not going to be the end of the world. My parents going to give me a measure of grace. It goes a long way. And now we're working into generational patterns that are going to be passed down. I want to pass down positive generational patterns to my children that they don't mind redoing with their children. And then it keeps going. That home is that safe space. Mama and daddy are the ones to come to. So yeah, do I have to work on regulating my emotions so I ain't flipping out on them when they do something I don't agree with? I do. I do. Have I created a space where I can tell my children, you can tell me if you think I'm being unfair? I do. Because I need them to know how to speak up to people in the real world. So I need you to know how to speak up to me. If you can't speak up to your mama, the mom who loves you the most, when you think I've done something wrong or I've responded in a way that didn't seem fair, then where are you going to learn this? It's going to take a lot longer to learn that. Okay. Resilience is a cornerstone of emotional and mental well being. So, by teaching your children how to cope with difficulties, solve problems, and embrace failure as a learning experience, you are helping them build the foundation for a successful and fulfilling life. The earlier these skills are developed, the better equipped children will be to face the inevitable challenges with confidence, determination, and hope. So if this is an area that you're struggling with, on this podcast, Pursue Her, being heroic, empowered, and resilient, you can work on these same strategies as well and have these conversations with your children so you can feel better that your children are equipped when situations come. So when your babies who are extra emotional, you don't understand why they're always crying, talk about it. Give them strategies. Let them know. You can Google a lot of this stuff, honestly, to put things in place, but don't miss these teachable moments. Okay, mamas? In the meantime, if you have not, I want you to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube, or subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform you desire to listen so you can get all of our updates. But until next time, continue to pursue her, being heroic, empowered, and resilient. Take care.